Hi, everybody. So basically, we're going to be going through our thoughts and opinions on this chapter as it's coming to an end. Not this chapter, but this season. First off, Battle Pass. It's Battle Pass. Um, we can complain more about it, but it's just one of those things where we're not happy with the majority of the Battle Passes that come out. So there's really nothing to say about it. We're not happy. We're not happy with the majority of it, but again, because we're not happy with the majority of most of the battle passes. It's just kind of like a meh thing. Um, the other thing is our opinions on like when it comes to how many games we played this season. We played 602. That's more. That's double the amount of time we played season 1 and season 2 of this, and it's not necessarily because it's a good season. It's just more of we haven't really had anything. We haven't really been interested in playing anything else. We tried branching out into Dead by Daylight. We picked that up after 5 years, and 5 games was almost 2 hours. And same with Tarkov. As much as we like, our short stint into Tarkov again after only 3 months, not years and years and years, is a handful of games was a majority of the day of what we had to do throughout our thing. Whereas with Fortnite, we can suffer for like an hour and a half, and it could feel like 6 hours of gameplay. And it feels like we're getting more done than we actually are, or it feels like we're playing longer than we actually are, and that's kind of why we're just kind of banging our head against a rail when it comes to Fortnite. We're Elite 2, which is actually kind of crazy. It's only taken us 40 something games to get up here. We're going to go into game to sort of explain our you know our opinions on the things in game. Majority of the season, like when it comes to sprites, we have 82 mastered sprites, we have 84 actual sprites, which is 40 to 50 off of how many sprites are in the game, which is just absolutely obscene. We were kind of interested in the beginning because what we thought was going to happen was they were going to roll through some sprites. They were going to have some sprites. You're going to grab them, you're going to master them, you're going to extract them, you're going to call it a day. And then as more sprites get released, other sprites will get vaulted, like the water sprite, the fire sprite, the earth sprite, things that everybody is going to have or should have if you played even like an hour of this game. They were going to vault those, and you were going to be able to carry on. And so, even though you'll come across rarer sprites, you should have been able to grab them with relative ease, which didn't actually happen. And so you have 120 sprites with you have 120 sprites with all their variants and all their things. We were going to say 120 sprites with different variants, but it's 120 sprites with with everything. And so it's one of those things where you're trying to get some other sprites, and unless you're doing absolutely nothing but sprite grinding, you're not gonna find them. Out of the 600 games that we've played, we only have 82 mastered. We want to specifically say mastered because we do have 84 of them. But these last 20, unless we absolutely bang our head against the wall for the last week that the season's going to be out, there's really no point in us. Where are we? Oh, okay. There's going to be really no point in doing so, because we could, but it's just going to make us hate anything and everything about this season, which honestly, as much as we played this season, we have almost 700 matches between reload, ranked, and regular BR. Oh, enough. I'm dealing with that dude. Yeah, the biggest thing is the other thing is right off the start of the season, you had decent weapons, and when we say decent, we mean absolute fucking just disgustingly overpowered. You still have the charge reload shotgun, which was in contention with the striker pump, which is one of the worst pump shotguns in the game, to the point where semi-auto shotguns, which semi-auto shotguns, like a pump shotgun should do more than a semi-auto, and the semi-autos don't do that. Like the semi-autos or the pump shotgun doesn't outclass the semi-auto, which is just absolutely crazy. It's like even if you land your shot, it's just kind of meh. And that leads us to another thing. Like you still have the Chaos Reloader shotgun, which just hit like a fucking freight train. Which just hit like a freight train, and it was really unnecessarily to be in this in comparison to the other shotguns that were in the game. Which, i.e., the Striker, the Extended, as well as the... What's the other one that we have in this? The Maven. The Maven actually wasn't too bad. Granted, it did get a buff. And the Extended got a buff, but then the Striker stayed nerfed. There's, like, this issue with the Striker where it just doesn't have a plausible... like, its pullout time is, for whatever reason, just absolutely disgusting. And you can't fire it as fast as you should be able to fire the damn thing. And so it just becomes this awful thing. You know? And then you compare the Maven to the Extended. The Extended got such a buff that the Maven's basically useless. You know, oh my god, outside of the Mythic... Walk me down. Come on. Outside of the Mythic Maven, it's just not that great. And then you have the Mythic Extender, and it's just also... Yeah, and it's just not even a competition at that point. Honestly, we might get rid of the Lance Head. Just simply because spamming the pistol, it takes too much brain power right now. We're too exhausted for that. But throughout the season with the loot, it just seems kind of lackluster. You know, the surgical burst is alright. You know, it's not bad, but it could be better. But then they bring in something like the... the Spy Rifle, which was just an absolute demon in previous seasons in Chapter 6. It's kind of meh now. You know, again, the Ranger just overpowers it, even after the nerf. And, you know, now that we can't use a pistol... When we say we can't use it, we can't hit shots with it. It's not that it's bad, it's just that we personally can't do anything with it. How is he following us, dude? But then you have things like these, which used to be relatively hard to get. We're also running out of time on our laundry. But yeah, so it's just it's one of those weird things where it feels like there's been a lot of, like, thinking about it back to right now, there's been a lot of change-ups in the, oh, there goes our laundry load. There's been a lot of change-ups in the loot pool, but the meta has kind of stayed the same. And again, if those people had been using the Ranger instead of the Spire Rifle, they probably would have gotten me. You know, no bullshit. 100%. And so it's one of those things, or even the surgical. But therein lies our issue with the surgical. Oh, damn. Damn. Therein lies our problem with the surgical is it's accurate, but it's not accurate at the same time. Like, your entire crosshair could be completely and utterly enveloped by someone's torso, and it's not going to land shots. Like, your crosshair could be could be completely taken up by, like, right here, or like over here, like where the left hand side is taken up. And you could just completely and utterly miss your shot. And it really sucks because it should be just disgustingly accurate, but it's not. And then you have the Warforged, which is just also kind of meh. The Chaos Reloader rifle got absolutely nerfed into the ground. That used to be absolutely disgusting. So it's just like there's a ton of things this season that it feels like it's been changed up, but ultimately the meta has stayed the same because it got, like, the change up happened, and then, well, nothing really happened. And the other thing is like, so this season we have also played just slightly more passively, like, our passive playstyle has kind of, like, run rampant because movement is just so random. It's like in ranked, the one positive thing is like you can go from, that's a person, right? You can go from vending machine to vending machine to see if you can't get any overdrives. And if you don't get overdrives, oh, up there. Okay. Well, we might as well just give up, honestly. Oh, God. We really hate these fucking movement things, dude. They're so dog shit. Where's the gas station? Is there a gas station around here somewhere? Wow. Who would have thunk it? But yeah, it's one of those things where the meta got shaken up for a little bit, and then it got returned to normal. And we can't get in through that window because we're fat. drop those because it's going to get us killed. Where the fuck? And then you have... And then you have the Spider-Man movement. Huh? Okay. Then you have the Spider-Man movement, which honestly is... It's alright. You know, as someone who wasn't part of it when it first came out, the biggest issue that we have with it is that, one, it'll get you killed. If you're in these Unreal lobbies and someone has a controller, you're just fucked. You take any amount of... Like, you get any higher than, like, a foot above the ground and you'll take instant 100% fall damage while you have one shot, and you'll splat, and it'll be absolutely just meh. And then obviously you have these boots. These boots are alright, though at the higher levels of play, like as you get to Elite, or like if you're constantly sliding, or, you know, something like that, like they just get in the way, and they're very loud. They get all over the place. The other thing is, and again, these Spider-Man mythics are so loud, but if you... Like, see, we felt like we should have hit some of those. But yeah, the mythics of this, they're really powerful in the beginning. We wouldn't even say they're overpowered, but they're very powerful at first. And then they get nerfed into oblivion, like this mythic pistol. Then the other thing that you run into is controller players. Ever since that they got the tweak zone and everything, even, you know, even some of the higher end keyboard and mouse players just can't keep up with it. And it really does suck that they've given... But see, we can't hit that. I have a feeling we're going to get beamed from our left. Yeah. And so you just have games like that where it's annoying, but we don't know. We give this season overall like 6 out of 10. It's not the worst thing on the planet. It's not the best. There are so many things that could be done better. The geometry of the rocks, the geometry of the cliffs, the geometry of the water. That there's a ton of things that could be done better. As per any Fortnite season, we're not going to call it like bad because again we have banged our head against the wall for the last 700 games almost. Let's actually do some calculations here. In ranked, we've done 43 games. In reload ranked, we've done 41 games, so that's 84. 84 on 602, so that's 686. Out of almost 700 games, our win rate's just as dog shit as it's been for the last 2 years, year and a half roughly. It hasn't been above 10% since Chapter 6 mini season 1, which was technically the beginning of Chapter 6 season 3 or Chapter 7 season 3 here, but yeah, that was basically the like our fall off where we started to just absolutely just get our ass kicked, but yeah, 6 out of 10. It's all right. Could be better, could be worse. We're not looking forward to the next season. We're just going to straight up say that. From the rumors that we've heard, it's not going to be a very fun season. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be really, really rough. But the one thing that we want movement out of anything. The movement is so inconsistent in this season, and it's so reliant on mythics, like the mythic web swingers, the mythic boots. You can't just get a stack of shocks. You can't just get a stack of overdrives. You can't. It's and so it's frustrating because not every game is the same, and so you sit in a bush because it's the only play style that you can play consistently. As far as like our, as far as us goes, there are a ton of players that are significantly better than us that can just we don't know magic movement out of their ass. But yeah, it's one of those things where yeah, we want more. We want shockwaves back. We just want regular shockwaves back. We're tired of overdrives, and we don't know understand why it's permeating into the other game modes like reload and blitz. Blitz and reload should be the anti-shockwave game modes. They should be the overdrive game modes because the maps are so small. You don't need movement like a shockwave like you do in regular battle royale. You don't need to be like you don't need to destroy as many things to get away from people. You don't need to bust through walls. Well, we guess in reload you might need to, but it's just one of those things where the overdrive is taking over the movement and it's really really crappy, especially since you have a better movement item, two better movement items. We think the crash pads are better than the overdrives. Now granted, the overdrives do give you a little bit of like a running boost, jumping boost, and a sprint boost, like in an infinite sprint boost, but it's not worth giving up the shockwaves. We think them getting rid of the shockwaves was one of the dumbest ideas that they could have ever done, but that's just us. We'd prefer to have 6 shockwaves over any other movement item that's vehicles, planes, starfighters, again, overdrives, crash pads. We'd rather have 6 shockwaves over anything else. And even if that's all you could carry, if you could only, because that's the thing is they've limited slots before. You can't carry 2 mythic boots. You can't carry 2 mythic web shooters. So why can't it when we reach 6? That's just it. You can only have 6. We don't understand. But we'd rather have a stack of 6 shockwaves over 2 full stacks of crash pads or 3 full stacks of overdrives. And that's like our like comparison is we'd rather like if we have crash pads, we'd rather have 2 stacks of crash pads. If we had or shockwaves, we want 1 stack of shockwaves. If we have overdrives, you want 3 plus stacks. And that was the thing when we were running challenges is we were running so much movement. It was genuinely like it was amazing. We think that you should be able to run that much movement in just in general. But once we started going to the shotgun and spray weapon again, or shotgun sniper, or whatever, and we dropped down our movement, our play style had to significantly like slam on the brakes. We couldn't play as aggressive. We couldn't play kind of the way that we wanted to because you didn't have enough room for the movement, and even if you have 18 overdrives, you're not getting across the map. And that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is Fortnite's one of the only battle royales right now, as we're speaking, that has a movement where it doesn't take you 25 minutes to get across the BR map. You know, you got PUBG. Escape from Tarkov isn't really a battle royale. It is and it isn't. It's more of an extraction shooter. But as soon as you get rid of everybody, you've essentially won anyway. But we digress. But like you got Warzone, things like that. There are so many different battle royales, but none of them compare to Fortnite in terms of movement. And so we think Fortnite should keep that. You should keep the movement. You know, we know a lot of upper skilled people don't want movement, but that's kind of the thing is the maps aren't as cluttered. Like the Fortnite map isn't as cluttered as a Warzone map. It's not as cluttered as a PUBG map. It's not as it's not as cluttered as a Tarkov map. There's not a lot of things to hide behind you. You're also in third person. Yeah, you could be in third person in Call of Duty games or in PUBG, but we digress. We're derailing. We're taking this long and longer than we wanted to, but yeah, it's one of those things where movement should be the name of the game. And the ranked, not just the ranked community, but the upper ends streamers should not have a say in what is and is not viable as movement. And that's kind of what started this is the upper end, like the big streamers and the high skilled players like, hey, this is some dog shit, and it trickled down to ruin everybody else's fun. And like the one thing that didn't happen this season really was no one really complained to the point where, well, we were going to say movement, but movement has kind of been up and down this season. But yeah, our biggest gripe, the movement isn't as plentiful, and like there's not options. You either have a shockwave and overdrives or you have crash pads and overdrives. Yeah, you could do the boots, but there's a reason. Again, the upper end levels of players don't use it. It's just because they're not that good. And that's kind of the good thing is when you get back down into the casual players, the people that do use them and the people that do like them, they're not being changed in a way that it ruins their fun. And so we think that there needs to be sort of an equilibrium, like the old school players like me, like us, and like the upper ends, they can still have plentiful amount of shockwaves, they can still have plentiful amount of crash pads or what have you, and then give the casual players or the lower end skill, quote unquote, players something fun to use. The boots for the people that like if you're in bronze, silver, gold, and even somewhat platinum ranks, if you're below diamond, those boots are fucking everywhere. Everybody's using them. But then as you get higher, more people are using shockwaves, more people are using crash pads. Like this diamond like 2 plus, you get more people using crash pads, you get more people using shockwaves, more people using overdrive. So it's just one of those things where it should be equal grounds. There should be something for the casual players, and there should be something for the tryhards. We don't like to consider ourselves a tryhard, but we're pretty much up there as far as like what we want to play with. And going over to skill rating, we've seen players as high as like 40,000 on the skill rating. So our sub 2,000 means fucking nothing, to be perfectly honest. But out of all the people on our friends list, we're the sweatiest motherfucker on our friends list. So as far as the skill rating goes, so it's one of those things where, you know, eh, as much as we don't like it, out of what we can see, we're the sweatiest motherfucker there. But yeah, this whole season, 6 out of 10. We hope next season isn't as bad as we're expecting it to be, but what can we do? It's probably going to be pretty bad. But we'll leave this off there. This has been a half-hour video, so yeah, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, wonderful rest of your Wednesday, depending on if you're on the other side of the world or not. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. If you are on hump day, yeah, your week's halfway over. Let's go. Okay, bye.